Good morning. Happy Thursday. I mean, big chunk yesterday of Amadeus, and I may continue to go back onto that because it's great to hear Mozart's music. It's also a great plot and great themes, big themes for all of us artists to think about. So all that stuff. So hope you enjoyed that. Can't wait to show you your results for Amadeus tomorrow. So that'll be good. So as I said, we're kicking it cool in LA, and I'm going to revisit a class that we looked at a few years ago because I looked at it and I was like, well, we need to take a look back about this great building that was studio that was there. That's, of course, as we're going to see now, just a mini market. And so we're going to look at Gold Star Studios again. And also I revisited and was talking with John about the Wrecking Crew documentary and how it's, I think when we get back, I'll show you guys that because these guys were the real musicians that played at the studio for artists like Bobby Darin, the Monkees, the Ramones, the Association. I mean, all these people, the Beach Boys, of course, those guys were on the tracks, and so whether it's a guitar line or a saxophone line or whatever, those guys were the musicians that showed up each day that played, and they're unsung heroes. And they called them the Wrecking Crew because somebody said, well, these guys are going to wreck our careers. People like the Monkees couldn't play their instruments; they were just a gimmick, and so these guys were super popular. So let's re-look at Gold Star Studios. Today we're going to be talking about a very important building. Now, it's not there, but this is what it looks like now. So you're probably saying, well, what could possibly have been there? Well, there was a studio there, and it was called Gold Star Studios, and we're going to listen to some of the songs that came out of that studio located on Santa Monica and Vine Street. And look how close it is to where we go to school. It's literally not that far away. When you think of what history was made at that studio, we're going to get into what songs were recorded there. And then we're also going to talk about why it was so... What was the draw? Why did so many people want to record there? This eventually became Phil Spector's playground when he created the Wall of Sound. So let's dive into some of the songs that were recorded in that place. Then we're going to dive into why it was so important people recorded there. And then, we got all day. We can have fun with this and see where it takes us and to see why it's so important. So, okay. Enough fooling around. Let's get to it. It opened in 1950. So let's start with this. Let's start with the first song that in our program that was very famous, recorded by Ritchie Valens when he was 17. See if you know this song. Just a teenager, and he died shortly after that, but very famous song, right? Really famous because, yes, it's a good melody, good hook, but also kind of one of the first rock and roll songs to include the Spanish language. That was kind of unheard of. See if you guys have heard this song before. Tori Jackson used that to dance to at one of the Performance Showcase concerts. That was cool. So yes, another song that was recorded right there on that corner. Pretty cool, right? Here's another song recorded by Sonny and Cher. Very famous song, I Got You, Babe.
They say we're young and we don't know. We won't find out until we grow. Well, I don't know if all that's true, 'cause you got me, baby, I got you. I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
So in the early 60s, Phil Spector starts hanging out at this studio. Now, Phil Spector is, some may remember him or think of him as a murderer, but before he did that, he was very important in the music business as a songwriter and most importantly as a producer for such songs as with the Ronettes, like this song, which is one of my favorites. A special sound to it, doesn't it? Doesn't it sound echoey, larger? So let's talk about what Phil Spector did to this studio. And the first Platinum album was actually recorded here, and very innovative audio techniques that we, have plugins for on our computer today were developed there. And, it wasn't just pressing a button. They were actually built there, phasing, flanging, double tracking vocals, and Phil Spector, the Wall of Sound is really kind of what it sounds like. It's this massive sound. So on some of these tracks, you'd have 3 or 4 pianos with several guitars playing the same chords. So it's like drenched in sound, percussion, and then we would put echo and reverb, and they had these big reverb echo chambers. It was just like this, musical playground. And even George Martin of the Beatles was like, this is, the recording studio is an instrument in itself. So, you have instruments in a studio. He said the studio was what was almost its own instrument. So all these instruments were playing with reverb. There could be 3 bass players, 3 guitarists, string section, brass section, and there's a great documentary called The Wrecking Crew about all the studio musicians that played the instruments on a lot of these songs, because of course artists, like Sonny and Cher and other people, even the Beach Boys, didn't play their own instruments or didn't play them well enough to be on the recording that we, that would last forever, that we know today. Another very important album was recorded there, at least most of the album was, the Beach Boys and Brian Wilson's Pet Sounds.
Wouldn't it be nice if we were older, then we wouldn't have to wait so long? And wouldn't it be nice to live together in the kind of world where we belong? No, it's gonna make it that much better when we can say goodnight and stay together. Wouldn't it be nice? I love the colorful clothes she wears and the way the sunlight plays upon her hair. I hear the sound of a gentle word on the wind that lifts her perfume through the air. I'm picking up
songs were recorded right there on Vine in Santa Monica. Isn't that cool? I mean, we kind of knew it was in Hollywood, but I didn't know it was right on that corner, so close to us. So, yeah, there's a Philly cheesesteak place there now, which is probably, it's, probably for the best. But, what a cool, like, part of history. And unfortunately, it's not there anymore because it got burned down. It burned down. So, I think that was in like '84 or something like that, which was the year I was born. But let's not make this about me again. So Gold Star Studios, right in Hollywood. It's not there, but if you're ever in the neighborhood on Vine in Santa Monica, give it a little wave and say thanks for the memories. Thanks for all of these wonderful songs that were recorded there that we still sing in our cars today. So I hope you enjoyed that. That was me being a little bit more shy, although I'm still very shy. So yeah, 30 years from 50 to 84. That was like one of the most successful recording studios. And it was very cool to hear that even George Martin thought so. And Phil Spector, genius guy, really thought out of the box. And how cool was it looking at those chambers underneath, the echo chambers underneath the studio? And we looked at that with Capitol Records because they have that too. But we'll look at Capitol another time. But they really changed how music was recorded, but also they had amazing musicians, that were there to play whatever. They could read chord charts, they could read music, they could also not read music and just know exactly what you mean by probably like we talked about on Tuesday. Oh, okay, it starts on the 5 chord. Okay, you play the 5, I'll play the bass part. They were orchestrating there. They were making counterpoint there. All these things we can talk about. And this was interesting because 1950, when these studios are here, it's not rock and roll at all, except for Louis Jordan, who's doing this in 1945 that we looked at. Louis Jordan's early rock and roll, but Elvis doesn't come along till 50s. Elvis, Chuck Berry's like 55, 56. So these guys, these studios, this was perfect timing because what you had in 1950 being Crosby, Nat King Cole, singers that were lovely music, but the Wrecking Crew wouldn't have played. You had orchestral players playing previously, at Capitol Records with Frank Sinatra at a big band and all this stuff. You didn't have rock musicians that needed accompaniment. And so I thought that was kind of interesting that the studio happened right at the perfect time where music was shifting from the big singers to bare bones, rock and roll, Richie Valens, stuff like that was going to be coming in where people needed to, people had good songs that the kids wanted to hear, but they needed, real musicians that actually had practiced their whole lives to accompany that. So Gold Star, hope you enjoyed that revisitation of the class, and thanks for a great week. This was terrific, and tomorrow we see your film scoring results. For Amadeus. Can't wait for that. Okay, love you and see you tomorrow. Bye.